You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marni Battista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So, if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your, stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Mathew Coast. The things your future husband wants you to know now.
Ladies, if you're not watching this on YouTube, you might want to later because I have Mr. Hottie Make Hotter dating expert Mathew Coast on today. I'm super excited to have you, Matt.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. I love being in anything that you're doing, Marni, because you always have great stuff and it's so in alignment with me. And I love what you're doing. So thank you.
That's so amazing. Well, thank you. So Matt helps successful, growth-oriented women attract great guys into relationships where they feel safe, seen, and valued. Who doesn't want that? He's been helping both men and women since 2005 with their dating lives, and he reaches millions, literally, of women each month with all his materials. His YouTube channel, he's on TikTok, got an incredible subscriber list, doing so many amazing things. So I thought it would be really fun today if we took some of the top TikToks that we've done, where I, as a woman, profess to tell my community what men think and what men want, just to check. I'm doing a check. I'm live checking myself right here live with you. So I'm super excited about that. Okay, so now I am new to TikTok, Matt. So I have my first video that just is like going a little viral. So I thought we'd start with that one.
Okay.
Because what the title of it was the number one trait that makes a man respect and admire you.
Ooh.
So I will tell you what I said after you tell me what you think. So this is the number one trait that makes a man respect and admire you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
If I was to say what I think that it is, I would talk about something that's going on in your mindset, because what I've found is that it doesn't matter like externally what you're doing, how successful you are, how amazing you look, how Gucci your clothes are. What matters is what's going on in your mind, because that's going to come out in your behaviors and what you say. There's something out there that I call the law of belief transference, where whoever has the most certainty or the strongestly held belief about something will transfer that belief onto other people that are around them. And so if I was to say anything, I would say that if you want to be valued and respected by a man, you need to value and respect yourself first.
I love that. Okay, so now in this video, I went over some very specific behaviors. Like, this is how you show up when you're dating, when you have that foundational core belief of value. So how do you show up? Like, if a guy is late once or twice, how do you show up if you feel like he keeps avoiding more challenging conversations or asks you why you need to know that? Like, how do you show up as a woman of value in that way where he's like, oh shit?
Yeah, I think that, when we talk about like valuing yourself and this kind of mindset component, what we're really saying is like, when you, because a lot of times women will take that and they're like, okay, well, how do I pretend like I value myself?
Right. Yes. Yes.
How do I grab some words and behaviors that a woman would do if she valued herself? And honestly, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, right? Like you can do it. The problem is if you don't actually value yourself. And so what you want to think about is, like, do I like value my own voice? Right? Do I think that what I have to say is important, or what I care about, or what's going on with me is important? And so if you're in a situation like what you're just talking about, Marni, where a guy is he shows up late multiple times, and you are really disturbed by it, but you don't want to mess anything up with him, or do anything that might make him not like you anymore, right? You're not valuing yourself, because you're not valuing your voice, you're not valuing your needs and your desires and what's going on with you, because there's not a problem, there's nothing wrong with having that conversation and talking to him about what's going on and what you value, right? Because we're talking about something that you value here. Do you value your time, right? Do you value your body? Do you value your voice? Do you value, all these different aspects of yourself? And if you do, then you're going to communicate what it is that you want. You're going to be open. You're not going to be worried about pushing him away. Sure, are there better ways of having conversations than others?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And are you having these conversations? Are you willing to have these conversations with him?
I love that. So I'm going to give you a highlight of what I said on TikTok, but for all of you, you need to come to TikTok and see it yourself. But basically what I sort of said is that you don't really give a shit about if he's okay with it, and you're nice about it. Right? Like,
yeah,
you the way you deliver it is like, you're cool, you're chill, right? Like, you're nice about it. And if it's not received in the way where he's mad, or he doesn't like it, or he thinks you're high maintenance, that's fine, because that means he doesn't pass the test of like, this is who I am, this is what I want, can you meet me there? And then you're just like, great, bye.
Right, exactly. Because what you're learning about him when
Yes.
you voice yourself is, does he value you? Right? Does he value what's going on with you and your needs and all the different things? Or is he all about himself? Is he still stuck on his trauma? Is he worried about being controlled and all those kinds of things? Or is he open to things? Does he want to please you? Right? What we're really talking about here is his character. And his character is the most important thing that'll determine whether you end up in a good relationship with him or not, and whether he is capable of having a good relationship with you or not. So,
right. It's like a little test.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I have another question. So I have one question, but we're going to save it for later. But, okay. Here we go. This is a really interesting one. So this is one about, well, the headline is, men will go wild for you if you do this.
So are you asking what I think men will
Exactly,
go wild?
yeah, literally, right? Like, I had my thing, men will go wild for you if you do this. So what is one thing men will go wild for if you do this?
I think there's a bunch of different things. One, I think, is like getting into like certain different emotional states, right? Like a lot of women that come to me, they're kind of on these different extremes of things when they go out and they date guys. One extreme is like this thing where they like show up with their checklist, right? And they like sit the man down and they're like, all right, I have 136 questions here that we're going to go through one at a time to figure out what your deal is. And we're going to start with, what's your relationship like to your mother? Right. And then it just goes it's just this kind of like painful experience that everybody's having there, because you're not having a good time. Right.
You're not. And I really want to highlight this, because I think that so many of our listeners think, because they don't ask like what car do you drive or what's your job, right, which are even like higher level obnoxious, because they say, what's your relationship like with your mother, because it's deep, that it doesn't come across as the same sort of vibe or energy. So I just have to like call you out a little bit if you're like, I would never say that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So backing up to the point here is that getting into something that is fun and exciting, and like one, it makes you, it differentiates you from everybody else that he's going on dates with, because he's having all kinds of weird experiences. And if you come and you're just having fun and you're being playful and you're connecting with him and you're coming from a good kind of playful, fun, exciting kind of state, you're both going to have a much better time. You're going to differentiate yourself from all the other women that he goes on dates with, because all the other women are doing all kinds of weird things too, right? And so, so yeah, I would say bring some fun, playful energy, and guys will love it.
They'll go wild for it. Okay.
Love it. Yeah.
So what I said was, which is like another version of what we've been talking about, was be the person you want to attract. Right. So if you want a guy who's like committed and fun and playful and interested in you, right? Like, and wanting to really know you and see you, right? And then you show up that way without your guards up, then a guy's going to go wild, because he's like, holy shit, I finally met someone who's not like, you know, batshit crazy, demanding, trying to find some guy to, you know, check all the boxes. He's just going to like get totally turned on by how you stand apart from the crowd. So I think we did not plan this, people.
We didn't plan this, but we're totally on the same path. Marnie's better at kind of condensing it down into
well, that's because it was for 7 seconds on TikTok. Okay. Let's try this one. Oh, this is a really fun one. A flirty way to get that guy you've been talking to the green light to ask you out. So what's a flirty way to give a green light to that guy that you've been talking to? Like, hey, if you ask me out, like, I'm going to say yes.
I mean, honestly, you could just tell him that wouldn't be too bad. That's a pretty good one, right? Because right now, especially in the culture that we're in right now, there's a lot of confusion with men and what they're supposed to be doing. And is it okay if I pursue women, especially in different environments pertaining to like work and things like that? There's a lot of frustration, confusion, a little bit of fear there about what they can and can't do. And so there's this concept that I have around just allowing, right? Just giving him permission to do things. And when you give him permission, it's almost like an invitation, right? You're like, hey, you know, this would be really cool if you did that, but you're not doing it for him. You're just giving him an invitation to do it. And then he can take that ball and run with it if he wants to. And if he doesn't, then he's just showing you that, you know, he's either not that interested or whatever. But you won't know unless you give him that permission. And he might be looking for permission. He might not be sure, you know, if you really like him or if this is appropriate or whatever. Just coming from a guy's point of view, you know, a lot of times guys women are really good at giving hints. And guys are really bad at receiving hints.
Yes. You have to be so direct.
Yeah. And so being a little bit more kind of direct about that can be a really, really powerful thing. So I think you're totally on point there, Marni.
I love this because, okay, so here's the thing. I put this video on Instagram also and TikTok, and another one that was related to this as it relates to online dating. And we got a lot of like people saying like, men need to do all the pursuing, that why would we do that, like blah blah blah. And I just, you know, I don't know if you have any videos about this on TikTok. I could stitch one of your videos because now I can say TikTok lingo, but because I think it's really important. I think that, and I want everyone to hear this, I think you have to wake up and be like, I know this is hard to understand, but it is 2023. And while I know the way you were raised or your mom was raised or whatever it is that you just are like, you know, a solid, stable unit, and men just have to pursue you and do all the work. And if they don't do that, then, you know, fuck them or whatever it is. That just doesn't work anymore. Like, I really would love for you to elaborate a little bit on what's going on in a guy's mind around permission and fear and not wanting to be inappropriate, especially the really good guys.
Yeah. And you got to realize that there are a lot of really good guys, and this idea, because what we're talking about, what you're talking about right now is an extreme. And
yes,
with like most extremes, that's where a lot of the problems are. The magic is almost always in the middle, where there's kind of this back and forth. And a lot of times women don't want to look at that middle ground because it takes thought and it takes energy. Guys are the same, right? Not to say that women are lazy or anything like that.
Right.
humans in general,
Yeah.
it's easier to just jump to one extreme and be like, well, I'm going to do nothing and the guy has to do everything. Or, you might do the opposite, right? Where sometimes I'll talk about like not chasing guys, and then women will be like, well, I did this, and if I don't, pursue him and do all these things, then he's going to disappear. And it's like, yeah, he might. And if
Right.
he did, right, what
That'd
would that
probably
tell
be good.
you? Yeah.
Exactly.
All of a sudden you wouldn't be in a relationship where you're doing everything. You're exhausted from working so hard, and he's taking you for granted, which is what a lot of women are in. And so what you got to figure out is where is that middle ground, and where is that middle ground for you? And we could give you little exact things like for every 3, you need to do 1, and
Right.
all these different things like that. But in reality, every situation's different. And you just want to stay in that middle ground where that he's investing and he's pursuing and he's doing all these things, but you're also open to connecting and reciprocating some of that interest, so that he understands that you're interested in him. They did a bunch of different studies on this, where they found that around like 2/3 of all men, 67%, were they won't approach a woman unless he gets like a very clear sign that she's interested and that this is going to go well, right? Because most guys, like, if you go out and approach lots of women, which I've done a lot in the past,
Right.
What happens is that the overwhelming majority of those don't go well, right? She doesn't want to talk to you. She's busy. She might yell at you. She's, taken or whatever. And so most guys don't want to deal with that much rejection all the time. And especially in this culture now, it's like there's a lot of confusion about what's okay for a man to do, because, there's a whole bunch of viral TikTok videos going out right now where, women are like offended by guys looking at them in the gym and stuff like that. And so guys are watching this, right? Guys see these videos out there of, oh, this guy glanced over at this woman and now, he's getting his reputation destroyed because she went viral on TikTok about it. And he's going, I don't want that to happen to me,
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah. And so if I were you and you are out there trying to like navigate this, I'd throw away all of those old rules of, a guy has to do everything and I'm not going to do nothing or whatever. And instead play around with things a little bit, because that's how you find that sweet spot, right? That's how you find that middle ground, is trying and testing and doing things. And because all of this stuff, like a lot of times when we talk about like feminine energy or different things like that,
right,
a lot of times women will get offended by it because they feel like we're trying to tell them that they're not good enough, that they need to change, that they need to do all these things. In reality, dating is skill, right? It's a skill set. Relationships are skills, and these things are things that you can learn. And if you haven't learned some of these things, that's okay, but it doesn't mean that you're changing who you are. You're just learning a skill, like driving a car or riding a bike or typing on a computer.
I love that.
Like
I love that.
So,
I just interviewed Bobby Palmer the other day, and I love the way she said it. She said, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just there's things you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, and as strong, successful women, like most of us, when it comes to work or working out or eating well, or some of the things like, oh, I just don't know. So I just need to make those shifts. I need to change my habits. I need to change my mindset. I need to change how I think about it. And so it's like hard set, mindset, skill set, right? So that you can attract the right person. And I really am just highlighting, underline, like really look at ways, ladies, that you are so attached to your rules about the way dating should be. And if you need to mourn that times have changed, depending upon who you are, or how old you are, or what you learned, I get it. We all have to kind of like understand that the world is changing and we're in it, and it is confusing, and also have empathy that for men, it's not like Matt and I are on the street corner being like, hey, single, read this. This is what That's how you talk to women, right? There's no manual we're handing out. So I love this. Okay, let's do one more. Are you enjoying this TikTok
I
adventure
think
with
this
me
is
here?
great. I think this is great. Keep it
Okay.
coming, Marni. Keep it coming.
Okay, good. I mean, I feel like some of it is just the same thing over and over again. So, but this is great. Okay. The best age differences in relationships to guarantee success.
Best age differences in relationships. Honestly, I think that the age difference thing, obviously there's things that come with different ages, right? Like if you date a guy that's significantly older than you and you end up in a relationship or married to him, at some point there's going to be things that happen to him, his body, he's going to die earlier than you, all that kind of stuff. His testosterone is going down. Your testosterone might be going up, right? Like different things happen at different things. But, I really believe that it's more important, like looking at his character and looking at who he is as a person than it is looking at age differences. I think that age differences, there's a lot of different things going on with age. I've read a few different studies that we're talking about. Around 34% of women right now who are over 40 are actually dating men who are younger than them. We have women in our community who are married to men that are 20 years younger than them. There's definitely some challenges that you can have around age differences, and different people are looking for different things. But I don't know. I'm not overly, I don't place that much on the importance of like the age
The
difference.
age. Yeah.
Yeah. What
I
do
wish
you
I
think,
had
Marni?
I wish I had a sound effect, and maybe my little video editors could put like ding, ding, ding when we're a match, because that's exactly what I said. I said that really what matters are core values. And often at different ages, people have different core values, right? Like, so if you're 35 and you date someone who's 55, it doesn't matter that he's 20 years older, but his values might be around like freedom and retiring and traveling and adventure and like doing something else. Where if you're 35, your values might be around family, right? Or stability or something like that. So it doesn't matter that he's 55. We don't care. It's just that, are you really looking for the same things in your life right now? And I think that that's the really most important thing. My husband is 8 years older than I am. So, or 8 years younger than I am. And so we've been together almost 14 years now. And so we were looking at photos just the other day, and I was like, oh my Lanta, you were a child when I met you, because he was 34 and I was 42, right? And at the time, I didn't really even think about like, oh, 34 is so young. But now that I'm 56, I'm like, oh my God, my daughter is 27. She could date a 34-year-old, right? But our values were the core values were the same. So he was like totally down to have a family. He was, wanting to do the same things that I was doing at those times. So I think that that's a really important thing to look at, is values, and then having those conversations about what you care about with that person and see if it's a match. So I think we're on track.
Totally.
Okay.
Totally. Are you guys growing in the same direction? That's what I'd say.
Absolutely. Okay, let's do another because we have time. Okay, this is a good one. I love it. The real reason, do you guys like my hooks, by the way? The real reason men don't want to talk about their feelings and what you can do about it. The real reason men don't want to talk about their feelings and what you can do about it.
The real reason men don't want to talk about their feelings. Well, you know what, Marni? I don't want to talk about this because this is talking about my feelings. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot. So if I was to say what the most common reason that guys don't want to do it is, I was actually talking to a guy not too long ago about this, and he was talking about like being vulnerable and opening up. And he was like, you can't do it in front of women. Women, if you cry in front of a woman, it's over.
She'll get the ick.
She's like, she'll leave you, and I was like, did this happen to you before? Cause I'm pretty open to being emotional around women, people in general. And I've never been emotional around a woman before. And she was just like, you're a little boy and I can't be with you. You know,
Right,
I've never
exactly, right.
had that experience, but I know a lot of guys who think that they have, right? And
Right.
I think that this is probably a similar thing to like, you show interest in a guy and all of a sudden he disappears and you like blame it on showing interest with him, right? But it's really something else that was going on with him.
Right.
And you misattribute it to that. And so
My
yeah,
daughter says causation doesn't equal correlation.
yeah, exactly.
Is that deep? I'm like, that's like some corporate term.
That's some, yeah, well, that's some nerdy like researcher stuff right there.
Exactly. Causation doesn't equal correlation, people. You heard it from us smart ass dating coaches.
It's true.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I think a lot of guys are they're afraid, you know, I think that they're scared of not being enough. I think that they're afraid that, so if you want to build trust with a man, the way that you build trust with a guy is during times when trust is needed, right? Like it's easy to like trust somebody when everything's going great, but when something's difficult, like let's say that you have let's say he does open up to you, right? I've actually had women do this to me before, where I like said something to them that was a little bit vulnerable, and then they like made fun of me about it or something, you know, like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah, right. Like what?
And I'm like, what are you like? What are you talking about? And so if he's vulnerable with you, or if you're vulnerable with him, right? And if you take it well, if you take his vulnerability well, that is really, really powerful. Or if you're willing to trust him and be vulnerable, a lot of times they call it in psychology, they call it the go first principle, where you go first and then other people feel like they can do that after you've done it.
Absolutely. I mean, ding, 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 right on. I said the same thing. You know, because I have seen myself do this in the past. I'm telling the truth on myself. Like my husband will say something kind of vulnerable about like being worried about something. And because I'm not worried about it, or I think he shouldn't be worried about it, I'll be like, what? Like I don't say like that's dumb, but I'm like, why can't you be positive? You know, I'll like try and coach it or fix it. Right. And he's just like telling me like his fear, his worry. And I am being kind of bitchy sometimes, and I'll see it as like, you know, like, why do you think that way? And I go, oh shit, that's a vulnerability. Just because he's not like using the word scared, sad, hurt, you know, like feeling words, he's doing it in a dude way. So what I think you said is so brilliant is giving a guy the space to have his feelings without having to fix it or correct it, and just witness, because that's what we want. And then also I love the go first principle, because it's like, if I can say how I feel, even at the beginning, like, I'm really liking spending time with you. I like the way this is going. A guy's like, oh, we can talk about that now. I don't have to just talk about like how confident I am, or, you know, appear like, you know, like hard to get, because that's what women want. And then you create a different container for the relationship. So I think we're totally on the same page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And if you want to, if you're kind of worried about doing that with a guy, you can do it in like small steps, right? And step your way up, where you like, because a lot of times when women tell me that they told a man her feelings, she's like, I want to tell him how I feel, right? They aren't saying, you know, I want to tell him that I like him. What they're saying is like, I want to tell him how much I want to have his babies and marry him, and, you know, put a leash on his neck, and, you know, stick it in the ground so he can't go anywhere, and then put a saddle on him and ride him around the house. You know, I'm like, you might want to start like with lower things and kind of work your way up there.
Yeah. I had a nice time on our date. I love that you remembered how, like, I don't like, you know, Thai food, like, right? A little stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Exactly. That's so funny. Okay, let's do one more. I'm addicted to these topics. Okay.
Dude, Marni can't get enough of TikTok at this point.
No, I just can't get enough of your insight. I know. Okay, let's do this one. The last one. It is. Okay, last one for sure. This, I laugh at my own things. This turns off men, and you probably don't even know you're doing it. What do you
This
think that
turns
is?
off men, and you probably don't even know that you're doing it. Oh,
So many to choose from, I'm
yeah.
sure.
Well, I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. What do you throw me a bone here, Marnie? What do you got?
Well, I think we've been talking about it's the old way of thinking and needing to prove yourself. So I think there's two sort of flavors. There's the like, do you like me yet? Pick me. And then there's the like, like not saying this or physically doing this, but the like, like prove to me you're not an asshole like the rest of them.
Uh,
Do you know what I mean? Like if you
yeah.
show up on a date like with your guard up, kind of like prove to me this better not be a waste of my time. What do
Right.
you think?
Yeah. I mean, you're totally on point with that for sure. There's definitely this thing where it's like you're expecting him to be like all of your exes. And so you're just like kind of project that out onto him. And it's a challenge, and I get a lot of women that they'll come to me and they'll be like, okay, well, I had a woman the other day who told me that she was absolutely certain that there is not a single good man in the entire city of Chicago. And I was like, really? Like, how many men
That's
are in
funny.
Chicago?
I'm
Like,
sorry, my clients took them all. I have so many clients. I'm sorry. Tell her I apologize. There was only
yeah.
5.
Yeah. And when you come and I know it's difficult, right? Because
Right.
you have an experience, you have
Right.
experiences from your past. And to you, that's created a reality that is true. And the problem is when you bring that reality to a guy, it's like, do you want to have to sit there and try to convince somebody that you're not a horrible person?
No.
Of course not.
It's not sexy.
Yeah. And that's how a guy feels when you come to him and you're like, bringing all your baggage from your past relationships that might be very valid. But it's not, it feels like he has to do such ridiculous amounts of work to prove to you something, and it's never going to be enough. And so it kind of turns into this treadmill of, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. It's similar with like the insecurity thing, where if you have just ridiculous insecurities where you're just constantly baiting the guy for compliments and he has to tell you all these different things. And, at first it might feel okay, or like, like he's in there kind of helping with you and making you feel better and he's needed, but after a while it just becomes exhausting. And he's like, I don't know that I can do this anymore. And it doesn't, a lot of guys that are really healthy and have good character and are really doing things in their life, they just don't want that in their life. They want somebody who they can kind of come together, and you just come together and you move towards what it is. And obviously you're going to have challenges, and we all have a past, right? And we all have things that we have to work through. And the question is, how much of that is being put on him and how much of that is not being put on him, right? And it's the same with you, right? Like you go talk to a guy who thinks that all women are, cheaters, all women belong to the streets, right? Or whatever, right? And it's like, that's not attractive to you. And it's gross, and you're never going to be enough for that guy. The only people the only women that are attracted to that are women who, have a lot of emotional baggage and trauma that they haven't healed yet, that they are then like, okay, and they get into this kind of cyclical thing of, this pattern of pain, which goes on through their life until they've done their healing. And so, it's just, oh man, it's a deep topic there.
It
Marni.
is a deep topic. I think one of the things that I hear a lot that is, and this is kind of the like, and you don't know you're doing it, is I hear so many women that I don't work with just out in the wild saying like, oh, I met someone, but I don't want to get my hopes up, I've been excited before. Like, I have to see how, and I always say, like, be cautiously optimistic, because if you listen to the beginning of this show, we talked about what drives a man wild with desire, and that's playful, fun, open, flirty. And if you go into date going like, I don't want to get excited, how does that woman show up on a date versus the other one, Matt?
Mm-hmm. Yep. One shows up having a great time, and the other, I mean, you ever go around somebody who keeps like making jokes, but you don't really think they're funny, but eventually you start laughing at them because they think it's so funny, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
ever had that kind of experience, or
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
that's
yeah.
just having a great time, and initially you're kind of like, I don't know if I really feel it, but they're having such a good time that it just sucks you in, and next thing you know,
Right.
you're having a good time. You know,
They're funny just because they're like their energy is funny.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same with this, right? If you
Yep.
go on a date with a guy, I had a woman come to me the other day, and her whole thing is around excitement, right? She is Miss Variety. She loves excitement, and she's like looking for all these guys who are exciting, and every guy she goes out with is exciting, and they're doing all these different things and going all these different places, but they always disappear on her, right? And she's like, what do you think the problem is? And I was like, well, let's back up a little bit. Have you ever had a successful relationship before? And she was married. She's actually a widow. And she was like, yeah, my husband, he wasn't the exciting type. He was actually like more the structured kind of person. And like, I came to him, and, it was like, I don't know, I pulled that side out of him. And I'm like, so what works for you is finding a guy who's structured and has everything together, and then bringing that side of you to them. And what you're searching for right now is the excitement guy that isn't really the person that you're compatible with.
That's amazing. Well, I have loved this conversation. By the way, where can people find you on TikTok? What's your handle?
Yeah, it's I think it's Real Mathew Coast. I don't know. Just
Real
look up
Mathew.
Mathew Coast and you'll find me on TikTok.
With two T's. Not
Yep.
to be, I know I do this every time, not to be confused with Mathew Hussey or Matt Boggs.
Or Matt Boggs. Yep.
It's the real
I'm
Mathew
a different Matt.
Coast.
All right. There's a lot of
I
Matthews
know.
that are doing dating advice out here.
I know. Well, now I saw a video with Mathew Hussey. It looks like he might be growing his hair out.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So now you guys all don't look the same too. So there you go. Ladies, this Mathew is amazing. Find him everywhere. There's links to all his stuff. We're doing stuff together with our live virtual event here coming in February. You can find out all about that. Come follow us on Dating with Dignity on Instagram, Dating with Dignity on TikTok. If you're listening to this show, hey, thanks. Share it with a friend, and come visit us on YouTube, where we are doing fun things like trying to get view hours so we can get verified. I don't know what that means, but I know it's important. So tell YouTube that you like us and that you like our content, so YouTube will like us. Matt, it's been amazing. I really appreciate you. Ladies, we gave you a whole list in this show of places where you can life check yourself. So don't just take it in and go, that was great. Rewind, listen, and check in and ask yourself, how might I be able to lean into some of these things in my own life? Matt, anything you want to say before we sign off for today?
No, I'm just very grateful to be here, and I'm honored to be able to share all my information with you. And so thank you. Thanks for having me, Marni. Thank everybody for listening. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye for now.
Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP. That's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to dwdvip.com. I'm Marni Battista, and let's talk soon.